You don't vanish all at once. You fade while standing in plain sight. You learn to be quiet, agreeable, available, because you think that's what maturity looks like. You reply fast because waiting feels like being erased. You explain yourself because silence terrifies you. And still, you're ignored. You become the place people unload their thoughts when they're lonely, the late-night inbox, the temporary relief, useful, never chosen. You would play conversations not for the laughs but for the pauses, the moment interest died without warning, like a light switched off in another room. That's when the thought you hate creeps in. If you mattered, they wouldn't risk losing you. You start noticing the pattern everywhere. The ones who explain nothing are chased. The ones who reassure no one are desired. The ones who leave confusion behind are remembered. While you, honest, open, emotionally exposed, are reduced to background noise. Late at night you scroll to confirm what you already know. They saw your message. They chose silence. And silence rewrites you. It makes you smaller, careful, doubtful. Until one night, not dramatic but final, something shifts. Not confidence, exhaustion. You stop clarifying. You stop filling gaps. You stop offering access to people who haven't earned it. And something disturbing happens. People notice the absence they never valued. They feel uneasy. They lean in. Because certainty makes people comfortable, and comfort kills attention. But uncertainty keeps it alive. This isn't about love. It's about power. About how neglect doesn't just hurt you. It trains you. Trains you to withhold. Trains you to calculate. Trains you to learn the most brutal lesson of all: kindness without boundaries doesn't make you special. It makes you replaceable. People like to believe seduction is emotional, that it's built on honesty, chemistry, and effort. But that belief exists only because the truth is uncomfortable. Seduction has never been about love. It has always been about power. Love is mutual, balanced, safe. Power is uneven, uncertain, and quietly controlled. Desire does not survive equality. You are not drawn to people because they care for you. You are drawn to them because you cannot fully read them, because their approval feels uncertain, because losing them feels possible. That uncertainty creates tension, tension creates focus, and focus becomes desire. When someone is emotionally available, predictable, and open, your nervous system relaxes. You feel safe, but safety does not create obsession. Comfort calms people, and calm people do not chase. This is why the most desired individuals often do the least. They don't over-explain, don't over-invest, don't rush to reassure. Their presence is limited, measured, controlled, not out of cruelty, but because limitation creates value. The moment you need reassurance more than the other person, the dynamic shifts and leverage is lost. Seduction is leverage, disguised as intimacy. This is why being yourself often fails, not because authenticity is wrong, but because most people give access too early, explain too much, and remove mystery before it has any chance to work. Seduction is not about pretending to be someone else. It is about withholding access to who you are until it is earned. Power is not loud. It is felt. It is silence you don't rush to fill, distance you don't panic over, and the calm knowledge that you can walk away. Most people don't lose attraction because they are rejected. They lose it because they are too available to reject. When there is no risk of losing you, there is no reason to desire you. Seduction begins the moment you stop trying to be chosen and become someone who can be lost. Power never announces itself. The moment your intention becomes obvious, your leverage is gone. People are not unsettled by cruelty. They are unsettled by clarity. When they know exactly what you want, they know how to resist you. When they don't, their mind begins working against itself, searching for meaning, filling gaps, creating stories. Most people expose themselves too quickly. They explain their motives, justify their actions, clarify their feelings, believing transparency builds trust. In reality, transparency kills tension, and without tension, there is no influence. When everything about you is visible, there is nothing left to imagine, and imagination is where control is born. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is a mirror. When you refuse to explain yourself, others project their fears, desires, and expectations onto you. They interpret you, and the moment they begin interpreting, they are already emotionally invested. This is why the calm, unreadable presence dominates the expressive one. Not because it is stronger, but because it is harder to locate. Uncertainty makes people restless. Restlessness makes them move closer. Every explanation you give releases pressure. Every clarification lowers perceived status. Every emotional confession hands away narrative control. The powerful person allows misunderstandings to exist, because a misunderstood figure is more compelling than a fully understood one. Unpredictability is not chaos. It is controlled inconsistency. Warm, then distant present, then unreachable engaged, then silent. Enough to disturb certainty without revealing strategy. When people can predict you, they stop thinking about you. When they can't, you occupy their mind long after you're gone. Hiding intention is not deception. It is restraint. The moment you declare desire or attachment, you hand the other person the power to accept or reject you. This is why the most talked about figures are never the clearest ones, but the ones who left things unfinished. Control perception, and you control emotion. Control emotion, and behavior follows. People like to believe attraction begins with beauty, confidence, or status, but that belief exists only because the truth is unsettling. Seduction does not begin with what people see, it begins with what they lack. Every person carries a quiet deficit, feeling unseen, replaceable, empty behind competence. And those gaps are the real entry points. This is why surface-level compliments fail. They touch nothing essential. What works is resonance, noticing what someone never says out loud and reflecting it back indirectly, making them feel recognized without realizing they've been exposed. Most people don't want admiration, and they want to feel privately understood in a way that feels rare and intentional. When that happens, attraction is confused with relief. Beauty draws attention, but attention is cheap. Emotional relevance is expensive. People bond fastest through vulnerability, not joy. And when someone reveals insecurity or doubt, they are handing over leverage. The one who receives vulnerability without immediately returning it holds the balance of power. Most people fail here by rushing to match confession with confession, thinking symmetry builds closeness, when in reality, symmetry dissolves tension. Seduction requires imbalance. One exposed, the other composed, one searching, the other steady. You don't exploit weakness by attacking it, but by normalizing it, by becoming the container for someone's uncertainty while keeping your own structure intact. This is why obsession forms around those who make others feel something specific, seen, chosen, understood in a way that feels private. Seduction becomes intimate long before it is physical, because it lives in the nervous system, not the eyes, revealed when your silence carries weight and your attention feels like relief. The darker truth is that emotional hunger accelerates influence, not because people are weak, but because they are seeking resolution, and whoever appears to hold that resolution becomes powerful. Once someone feels emotionally seen by you, you are no longer just an option, you become a reference point, and desire follows not because of who you are, but because of what you touched. Withdrawal is the most misunderstood weapon of influence because it feels passive while being brutally active. When you withdraw correctly, you don't disappear. You create a vacuum, and the human mind cannot tolerate empty space. Attention that is always present is consumed and forgotten, but attention that is removed is replayed, analyzed, and obsessed over. Most people make themselves too available, replying quickly, staying consistent, remaining emotionally present without cost, believing this proves value. In reality, consistency without consequence signals replaceability. When someone knows you will always be there, they stop checking if you are. Withdrawal shatters that certainty, not through drama or explanation, but through absence. You give attention first, enough to establish presence, then you pull back quietly, without apology. In that absence, comfort is replaced by questions, calm by anxiety, and presence by memory. This is where obsession forms, because people do not obsess over what they have. They obsess over what they might be losing. Chasing confirms low leverage, but withdrawal reverses it, forcing the other person to step forward or reveal that they never would. The power returns to the one who moves less. Effective withdrawal is not bitterness or coldness, it is calm restraint. You stop overgiving and let silence do the work. Silence creates space. Space fuels imagination, and imagination breeds desire. When people begin investing more, it is not because you became better, but because uncertainty woke emotions that comfort had put to sleep. Attention becomes valuable only when it can be taken away, and the moment your presence is no longer guaranteed, value is recalculated. Withdrawal is not cruelty, it is control of access, and in seduction, the one who can leave without explanation controls the room. Power always collects payment, and it never asks when you're ready. At first, control feels clean, efficient, logical, deserved. You learn to regulate your presence, measure your words, withdraw at the right moments, and watch how people lean in when certainty is removed. You tell yourself you are finally respected. But slowly, something else happens. You stop reacting honestly. You stop trusting instinct. Every interaction becomes a calculation. Every pause is intentional. Every silence is strategic. You are no longer present. You are managing perception. And management replaces connection faster than you realize. People respond to you, desire you, orbit you, but they no longer know you. And neither do you. The more effective your control becomes, the less spontaneous your emotions feel. You hesitate before warmth. You delay sincerity. You question whether truth weakens leverage. What once felt like freedom turns into restraint. You can't fully relax, because relaxation risks exposure. You can't fully open, because openness risks losing the upper hand. The power that once protected you now isolates you. People admire you from a distance, but distance becomes permanent. Conversations stay sharp, controlled, unfinished. Intimacy never deepens because depth requires surrender, and surrender feels dangerous now. You start noticing that when someone truly offers closeness, your first instinct is suspicion. Are they testing you? Are they trying to regain control? You keep your guard up, not because you want to, but because you've trained yourself to. This is the hidden cost power conditions you to see vulnerability as liability. And once that shift happens, you cannot unlearn it easily. You begin winning every interaction and losing every connection. Loneliness doesn't arrive loudly. It settles quietly behind competence and composure. You are surrounded, yet untouched. Desired, yet unknown. In control, yet tense. Because power demands consistency, and consistency demands emotional restraint. The darker truth is that the skills that make you influential are the same skills that make genuine intimacy rare. People feel you are solid, stable, unshakable, but never safe enough to fall into completely. And you feel it too. At night, when performance ends, you realize there is no one you can be unguarded with, because you don't know how to be unguarded anymore. This is what no book celebrates. Power sharpens you, but it hardens you. It gives you leverage, but it takes softness. And eventually, you face the final choice that power always demands: remain untouchable and alone, or risk losing control to feel something real again. Power can get you attention. It can get you obedience. It can even get you desire. But it will never give you peace. And if you are not careful, it will leave you powerful enough to command a room, and too distant to belong in it. Everything you've heard so far leads to one uncomfortable truth: seduction is not something you do, it is something you become when you understand power. Power over perception. Power over absence. Power over emotion. You learn that desire grows in uncertainty, that control comes from restraint, that people chase what they cannot fully have. You learned how availability erodes value, how silence shapes meaning, how withdrawal creates obsession. And you learn the cost, because there is always a cost. The same tools that make you influential make you distant. The same discipline that gives you leverage teaches you to hide. Seduction sharpens awareness but dulls innocence. It replaces spontaneity with calculation, connection with control. This video was never about dating, attraction, or romance. It was about how human behavior bends under pressure, how attention is engineered, and how power quietly rewires the people who hold it. If you use this knowledge unconsciously, it will still change you. If you use it deliberately, it will change you faster. The final question is not whether these principles work, they do. The question is whether you understand what they take from you. Because power does not corrupt loudly, it isolates quietly. And once you see how desire is controlled, you can never go back to believing it was innocent. This is where the video ends, not with advice, not with motivation, but with awareness. What you do with it will decide whether this knowledge becomes a tool or a cage.